Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. We always try to gather the most interesting info from all over and bring it right to you, but quick reminder, all this AI stuff we talk about is for learning and having fun. Okay, so use it responsibly and ethically. We're definitely not giving professional advice here. All right, so today we're going to really dig into how AI is changing the world of web development. And, we've been looking at some really accessible guides to just get to the heart of it all.
Yeah,
Our mission today is to break down the key ways AI is changing the way websites are built, how we experience them, all the cool stuff it brings to the table, and some important tools and skills that are worth knowing. But we're going to keep it super clear and engaging. Okay.
absolutely.
We're going to touch on some pretty cool stuff like websites that feel like they can read your mind, like, suggesting things you might want before you even click, kind of like those recommendations for your favorite shows, right?
Yeah.
And then there are these tools that can help write code, which is mind blowing, and how AI can actually help websites handle tons of visitors all at the same time without, crashing. You
Exactly.
can dive in.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I think what's striking, right off the bat is how AI is really becoming this core part of web development.
Yeah.
It's not some far off thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's really shaping how we build and interact with websites today.
I totally agree. So let's get specific, right? Let's talk about some real world examples because this is way more than just theory, right? It's making a difference to what we see and do online every single day.
Right.
What about all this personalization we're seeing everywhere?
Yeah.
You mentioned recommendations earlier, like those systems that learn what you like and suggest more of it. I
Yeah.
mean, think about how that's changed things. It's led to like a massive increase in how much people use certain platforms.
Got it.
It's like they've cracked the code to keeping us engaged.
Yeah.
We've gone from this like generic online experience to something that feels almost tailor-made. And then you look at things like AI being used to work out the best prices for stuff like hotels and even making searches smarter. It's leading to way more bookings.
Yeah.
I mean, it really feels like the internet is starting to get to know each of us individually in a way.
Yeah. And I think if we zoom out for a second, this goes way beyond just, suggesting the next show to binge or getting a good deal.
Yeah.
It's really about moving away from that like one-size-fits-all approach and creating these dynamic experiences online that adapt to each individual person. And this is really driving those big jumps in engagement and ultimately conversions, whether that's someone making a purchase or taking some specific action on a website.
Right, right. And all of this is trickling down into the actual nuts and bolts of building websites as well.
Oh, absolutely. AI is giving those UX designers, the folks who focus on how a website looks and feels, the tools to build smarter interfaces. So by analyzing how people use a site, AI can automatically tweak things like navigation and layout, making it way more intuitive.
Yeah.
And the potential there is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, some say it could boost conversion rates by like 30%
Wow.
and massively reduce bounce rates as well.
Okay, for our listeners who might not be familiar with that, a bounce rate is basically the percentage of people who visit a website and then immediately leave without checking out other pages. It's like they bounce right off.
Exactly.
So keeping that low is super important for making sure people stick around and, actually engage with what you're offering.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting here? It's not just about what the user sees. AI is actually making the whole process of building websites so much smoother. We're talking about boosting both speed and creativity in a big way. And I was looking at some numbers, and they suggested that using AI in web development can seriously cut down the time it takes to build a site, like by a significant amount.
Yeah.
But not only that, it also allows developers to pack in way more features, which is pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's a total game changer.
Yeah, it is. It's like changing the whole pace of how we can create and launch things online.
And I think this ties in nicely with automation
Yeah.
because, there are so many tasks in coding and development that can be repetitive and honestly kind of a drag sometimes.
Yeah.
But AI can step in and handle a lot of those routine tasks.
Right.
And this does two things.
Okay.
First, it speeds things up big time.
Yeah.
So we're potentially talking about new features being rolled out much faster.
Right.
But second, and this is huge, it helps reduce the chances of making errors in the code.
Makes sense because it's like taking away the human error, right?
Exactly. And, this frees up developers to focus on the really cool stuff, the innovation, the complex problem solving,
Yeah.
which ultimately leads to better websites overall.
So it's like having the super efficient assistant working alongside you, right?
Precisely.
And it goes even further, right? AI is even getting involved in how websites actually look and feel.
It
I
is.
was reading about these tools that can help generate different layout options for a web page based on what you want to put on it. So my little doodles and sketches might actually have a chance of becoming a real website someday.
Maybe.
It's like magic.
It is pretty cool.
But on a serious note, that seems like it would save designers so much time.
Oh, yeah, tons.
It frees them from doing those repetitive layout tasks over and over and
Yeah.
lets them focus on, the bigger picture, like how to make the user experience really great and how to make the site look stunning.
Exactly. And this idea of AI as like a design partner is really powerful because by suggesting different ways to arrange things, even helping come up with initial design concepts,
Hmm.
it can dramatically speed up the whole exploration process, you know.
Right.
And that gives designers more time to focus on those subtle creative aspects of a website and really hone that user experience.
Yeah, so we're seeing AI involved at every stage from figuring out what users want to streamlining how the site is actually built.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got more personalized experiences building them, is getting faster designs, getting an AI makeover. But what about when a website really takes off?
Yeah.
When you've got tons of people all trying to visit at the same time, how is AI helping out in that situation?
That's a great point.
Hmm.
Because being able to handle a large number of visitors and respond quickly is crucial for any website that's expecting a lot of traffic.
Right.
And this is where AI comes in to make websites smarter behind the scenes.
You talked about some interesting ways of explaining this earlier.
I did.
Can we revisit those? Like, how does AI help with what you called horizontal scaling?
Sure. So horizontal scaling is like adding more resources when you need them.
Okay.
Think of it this way. If a website suddenly gets a ton of visitors, AI can jump in and act like a really clever traffic controller.
Okay.
It's like automatically adding more lanes on a highway to handle that rush of traffic.
Gotcha. Makes sense. More lanes, less congestion. So instead of crashing, the website just keeps running smoothly, even with all that extra traffic.
Like exactly.
Okay. What about vertical scaling?
So vertical scaling is all about getting the most out of the resources you already have.
Okay.
So think of AI as this super efficient manager in this case. It decides how to best use the server's processing power, its memory and storage in real time.
Gotcha.
It's about maximizing efficiency with your existing setup.
Right, right. And you talked about predictive scaling, which sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
So AI algorithms can actually look at patterns of website traffic from the past.
Yeah. Oh,
For example, they can recognize that an online store always gets swamped with visitors around the holidays.
yeah, that makes sense.
Based on that info, AI can actually predict these surges in traffic ahead of time and proactively add more resources to the website before they're even needed.
It's like getting ready for that holiday rush way before it even begins.
Precisely.
Wow. So AI is not just handling things in the moment, it's anticipating potential problems and getting things ready.
Yeah.
It's a huge time saver, and it's probably preventing a lot of those, late night panic attacks.
Exactly. And beyond just managing those traffic spikes, AI can help with resource optimization in general.
Okay.
So it can intelligently manage things like processing power, memory usage, network speed, and all that. It can actually lead to some pretty significant cost savings.
Wow.
And it does it all without sacrificing performance. Then there's load balancing, which is about making sure the workload is distributed evenly across all the servers.
Makes sense.
So it prevents any single server from getting overloaded and potentially crashing. It's
Yeah.
like in a restaurant kitchen.
Yeah.
You want to make sure all the chefs are sharing the work instead of just piling everything onto one person. Yeah.
Good analogy.
And then there's fault tolerance and reliability.
Right.
So AI can actually detect potential issues before they cause the website to go down,
Yeah.
allowing for early fixes and minimizing downtime.
Always good to avoid a website crash.
And finally, for performance optimization, AI can analyze the website's operations to pinpoint any bottlenecks.
Okay.
Maybe there's a slow database query or some inefficient caching going on.
Yeah.
AI can identify those issues and even suggest or automatically implement fixes to speed things up.
So it's basically like having this whole team of like super smart engineers constantly monitoring and tweaking the website behind the scenes, making sure everything's running tip top.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, so we've talked about how AI is making websites smarter and more efficient. But for those who are actually building these sites, what are some of the specific AI tools that are out there that they should be aware of?
Well, there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a growing number of AI tools designed to help developers and designers at every stage of the process. So one that's getting a ton of buzz right now is what's often called an AI pair programmer.
Okay.
And this acts as a real-time coding assistant,
Oh, cool.
suggesting code snippets, even complete functions as you're working.
Wow.
These tools are often based on powerful language models that have been trained on massive amounts of code.
Yeah.
So they're really good at understanding the context and giving you those super relevant suggestions.
I mean, that could be a huge time saver.
Oh yeah, some studies show they can make developers significantly faster.
Wow, that's incredible. What else is out there?
So there are tools specifically for the early design phase.
Okay.
Imagine being able to just quickly sketch out an idea for user interface and then boom,
Yeah.
it's transformed into a working design in just a few minutes.
Oh, wow.
Then there are AI-powered tools for creating graphics.
Okay.
So you can pump out visually stunning content and marketing materials for your websites, even if you don't have a ton of design experience.
That's awesome, especially if you're just starting out.
Right. And of course, we've got those incredibly versatile AI language models
Yeah.
that can be integrated into websites for all sorts of things,
Right.
like providing instant customer support or creating interactive experiences.
We're definitely seeing a lot more of those popping up all over the place.
We are. And on the testing front, there are AI-powered testing tools that can automatically check if a website looks good
Yeah.
and works as intended across a whole bunch of devices and browsers.
Right.
So you can imagine how much time that saves in making sure everything's working proper.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because testing on different devices is a pain.
Exactly. And then for those who are interested in building apps without having to write code,
Right.
there are platforms that use AI to handle all that complex stuff in the background.
Interesting.
And for developers working with cloud platforms, there are AI-powered backend services that make it so much easier to build websites and apps that can handle a large number of users.
Yeah.
And finally, you can even run AI models directly on a user's device using JavaScript that runs in the browser,
Okay.
which enables features like image recognition without having to send data to a remote server.
It's crazy how many different aspects of web development are being influenced by AI.
It is pretty wild, isn't it?
So we've talked about making websites technically smarter, but how is AI making websites more user-friendly?
Right. That's where AI really shines in shaping the user experience.
Okay.
It's all about creating experiences that are engaging and intuitive and really enjoyable for the person visiting the website.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is personalization.
Right.
So AI can leverage user data to personalize everything from the content to the layout to even the recommendations they see.
Yeah.
It's all about making their experience feel relevant and unique to them.
Right.
And as we talked about earlier with those recommendation systems and booking platforms, this type of personalization can lead to huge increases in engagement and even conversions. It's like a chef looking at the most popular dishes on their menu to decide what to keep and what to change.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. So it's like the website is adapting to you.
Exactly.
Aside from that personal touch, how else is AI enhancing the user experience?
Well, by understanding what users want and serving up content that's relevant to them, AI keeps those users engaged,
Yeah.
and makes them want to spend more time on a website.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's also playing a huge role in making websites more accessible to everyone,
Right.
including people with disabilities,
Okay.
through features like voice recognition and automatic image descriptions.
That's fantastic. It's making the web more inclusive.
It is.
What about the actual design of websites?
So AI is enabling data-driven design.
Okay.
By looking at tons of data about how users actually interact with the website, designers can make more informed decisions about, how to build and improve those websites based on what people are actually doing.
Yeah, that's got to be way better than just guessing what might work.
Oh yeah, much better.
Oh.
And then there are those ever-helpful chatbots and virtual assistants,
Yeah.
which can offer instant customer support and guidance.
Yeah.
This not only makes for a smoother user experience, but also frees up those human customer support agents to focus on more complex issues.
And chatbots have gotten a lot better, haven't they?
Like, they're getting pretty sophisticated.
They actually understand what you're asking more often than not.
Yeah.
What other improvements to how we use websites are we seeing thanks to AI?
So AI is making that A/B testing process much more efficient,
Okay.
where you test out different versions of a web page to see which performs better. AI can automatically identify which elements are working best based on real-time data.
Yeah.
This means we're getting those continuous improvements to the user experience.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole predictive analysis thing.
Right.
So AI can analyze trends and predict what users might want in the future.
So it's about staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. It allows for those proactive design changes, keeping the website fresh and relevant,
Yeah.
before users even realize they want something different. We're also seeing AI help with content creation.
Okay.
Things like personalized product descriptions or even blog posts,
Yeah.
which can boost SEO and overall engagement.
Makes sense. And there's even some really cutting edge stuff out there, right? Where AI can actually sense if a user is getting frustrated.
Yeah, some really advanced systems are using AI to actually recognize those signs of frustration and then offer help proactively before the user gets fed up and leaves.
Wow. So AI is not only making websites smarter, but also more intuitive and responsive to our needs and even our emotions.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big shift.
It is.
So with all these changes happening for those who are building websites, what new skills do they need to learn to keep up in this world where AI is becoming so central?
Right. That's a really important point because as AI integrates more into web development, the skills developers also need to evolve.
Yeah.
So the fundamentals are still crucial.
Right.
Coding languages like Python and JavaScript,
Yeah.
those are essential for working with AI models and tools.
Mm.
But there are other areas to focus on as well.
Okay, like what?
Understanding SEO for AI-generated content, for one.
So you need to know how to make sure that content gets found.
Right, because search engines work a little differently with AI-generated content.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
Then there's automated testing for AI components.
Right.
It's super important to make sure everything is working as it should.
Right.
And chatbot development is a big one too.
Yeah, we're seeing so many more of those.
And of course, being able to use AI tools to actually create content,
Yeah.
it's becoming a core skill.
Yep.
And then being able to leverage data and AI to personalize user experiences.
Right.
That's another key skill.
Makes sense.
And data visualization too.
Okay.
Being able to present data in a way that's easy to understand is really valuable.
Right.
And then there's version control using tools like Git,
Okay.
which is crucial for managing those complex AI projects.
Mm.
And it's also becoming more important to have at least a basic understanding of how machine learning actually works.
Yeah, you gotta speak the language, right?
Exactly. And then being able to use those APIs to connect to and use various AI services.
Yeah, integration's key.
It is.
What about ethics? Because that seems like a really big topic these days,
It is a huge one.
especially with all the discussions around AI.
Right. So understanding the ethical considerations of using AI, making sure you're using it responsibly and fairly,
Yeah.
that's becoming more important than ever.
So it's not about AI replacing developers, right?
Yes, not at all.
It's more about giving them new superpowers
Exactly.
and helping them to do things they couldn't do before.
Yeah.
But it requires them to adapt,
Right.
to learn new ways of working with these incredibly powerful AI tools.
Absolutely. It's all about evolving alongside the technology, understanding its potential,
Yeah.
and figuring out how to use it responsibly and effectively.
So to sum up, it's crystal clear that AI is not some future fantasy in the world of web development. It's here, it's real, and it's making waves, creating websites that are smarter, faster, more efficient, and more user-friendly than ever before.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning.
I know, right? And for those who are willing to learn and adapt and, keep pushing the boundaries, there are some incredible opportunities out there.
I completely agree. The websites of the future are going to be intelligent and responsive,
Yeah.
and the people who understand how to use AI are going to be the ones building them.
Absolutely. And on that note, think about the websites you use every single day.
Yeah.
How might AI be working in the background, shaping your experience, making things just right for you? What skills that we talked about today spark your curiosity? What do you want to learn more about as this digital world keeps evolving at lightning speed? If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and leave a comment with your thoughts and any questions you might have. Thanks for joining us.